everyone. So I'm doing something a little bit different tonight. So first of all, this is a live recording, which I don't usually do. Usually I do voiceovers, but I got a question on one of my YouTube videos about my Copic markers, and in particular about how often I have to buy refills. So I thought that this would be a good occasion to kind of show you my collection of Copic markers and refills. And in particular, I wanted to make the point to show you that the refills last a really, really long time, even if you're a heavy Copic user like I am, as you know from my videos. So for example, for B21, this is a color I use pretty often. This is the refill for B21, and it's about, I would say about 70% full. And I have probably refilled my B21 marker maybe 4 to 5 times, I think, since I've had my Copics, and I started collecting Copics about 2.5 years ago. And I would say that I became a pretty heavy user starting in January of this year. So for the past year, I use them probably several times a week, and I use a lot of ink because I like to cover like an entire A2 size page with Copic ink. I'm not a big fan of distress inks or distress oxides. I prefer to, when I can, do my backgrounds with Copic. So even for a heavy user, it still looks like I probably have another year before I will have to buy another refill for my B21. And it's only, the refills are $5.25 if you buy them in the US from Dick Blick online. Another marker that I use very often is the BG10. That's this one right here. And for this one, again, this is another one where I probably have about 70% left, even though I use it very, very often. So I guess next, I just want to show you how I arrange my markers. So I have them in these little containers that I got from the Container Store. So let me see if I can pick one up and show you. So it's like a real simple box, and one of the boxes I have actually has dividers. So this section here has 8 dividers, and it's also a box from the Container Store. I'll see if I can, I don't know if that makes much sense where you can, where you're looking, but for whatever it's worth, I thought I'd show you. So what I do is I have all of my markers grouped by color. So I have my grays down in this corner, and I have all 4 gray families. I have the neutrals, I have the cool grays, I have the toner grays, and I have the cool grays. And they're all my favorites for different reasons. So cool grays I love because just for general shading, because of the nice crisp blue violet blackish tint that you get. I like my toner grays because I feel like they look like kind of like a brownish gray comic book kind of tinge to things, and they're great for metals and just great for giving things like kind of a retro feel. I like my neutral grays just because they're neutral. Who doesn't like neutrals? And then the warm grays I like because they look more like a brown than a gray, and you can do a lot of fun stuff with it. In particular, if I'm like shading a coffee that has some cream on it or a little dollop of whipped cream, like the warm grays are great for that. So next I have my blue greens, and they're set out in this little section of my little Copic box. And my favorites here are BG10, which I use in many of my videos. It's often like used to give a glow to objects, especially the moon. Lately I've been really loving like the BG70 series and the BG90s for, in particular, for skies and for trees. Just really, really good colors. Not so much into the very, very bright BGs like the BG01 to BG09. I rarely use them, but I'm sure I'll go through a phase where I'll use them a lot too. Next are my YGs, my yellow greens. And oop, a little blue got in there somehow. So these are my yellow greens, and I love my yellow greens. Probably I use these more than I use my greens over here. And my favorites are YG03. Let me see if I can find that little guy for you. He always evades me because he doesn't look the way you would expect him to look. Yeah, here he is. So this is YG03, one of my favorites. I also like to mix this with YG09, and then YG01 is another marker I use often whenever I want to lighten something up and give it a glow. So I might use this with like an orange, I might use it with a yellow green, I might use it with like just a plain green. It's just a great color to just make your images kind of glow. Speaking of glow, I also love YG11. This is another great color if you want, like, let's say you're drawing a picture of the moon and it's reflecting on some, you know, grass, and you can't see the grass because it's nighttime, but you can put like a tiny little bit of a glow in the middle, so it'll kind of shine and glow like a really, really bright green in your nighttime sky. So that's something that I like to do with my YG11. And then for my greens, I really don't use them that often. I find that they're kind of like harsh and one-dimensional, and I'm sorry green, that I'm giving you a bad rap, but that's just what my feelings are for the greens. I feel like they're either too bright or too dull, and I've never really found like the right combinations for greens for my work. So I usually always will go to my yellow greens or to my blue greens. The blues right here, these are next to the neutrals, the E's, my favorite. All right, they're a little out of camera, so let me see if I can push them up. So yeah, so these guys are my favorite. I love BG60, BG63, BG66. This makes the most awesome purple. I love it. I use this in almost all my works. I also love BG24, BG26, BG28, and BG21. These are often the colors that I use when we make the night sky, and they are just so bright and vibrant. You really can't go wrong with these four colors. If you want to make a show-stopping piece, just add some blue 21 to 28 and you will have a beautiful, beautiful piece of work. Over here, I have my violets and my blue violets. I don't use the violets a lot. Again, this is another area where I just kind of have trouble with the colors. They don't always make sense to me. They don't always blend the way I think that they will. And whenever I'm looking for a true purple, I will usually just go to my BG60 and my BG63 and 66. But I do love the blue violets. The blue violets are great for shading. They work really, really well and very similar to the way the cool grays work. So if you don't want to have all the Copics and you have to choose one or the other, you could accomplish a lot of what you can accomplish with the cool grays with the blue violets. I'll use these a lot in winter scenes. Yeah, good colors here, but the violets I'm still kind of working my way through and trying to figure out how I might use them more in my work, because I do have refills for them, so might as well use them. Over here are my red violets, and I think you can see all those. These I don't use that much, but I do have a few favorites. So I love RV00. This is a color I'll use to like add highlights to a face sometimes, maybe cheeks, or if I want a character to appear flushed, I might use this color. I love RV52 and 55. Those are probably my favorite RVs. I feel like I always get in trouble with the RV04 and RV06. It never looks the way I want it to. It always ends up looking kind of like a fluorescent orangey color. So often I'll use it and then regret that I had used it. And then here are my R's over here. And these are another bunch of my favorites. And I love so many of the R's. I love R14, R29, I love R39, I love R89, I love R46. This is like, R46 is just a pure, beautiful red. It's just red. It's not orangey red, it's not purpley red, it's just red. So if you compare it to like my nail polish is kind of like purpley red. No, it's not purpley red, it's red. And let's put orange next to it. See, it's not orange either. It's not purple, it's not orange, it's red. It's red and it means business. I love my R46. It is a little hard to shade though because many of the other reds do have other tones, have like peachy tones or orangey tones or purplish tones. But when I do have to shade with it, I'll try to use like an R56 or sometimes an R89, and then I'll go back over the whole thing with like an R29. That's just one of the things that I do. I also love like the R's that look kind of pink or peachy. So if you're looking for just a pure pink, then R81 and R85, you know, should be your go-tos. And R83 is also a nice complement to them. Although if you have these two, you really don't need this guy. These guys blend really well into each other. And they're great for making pure pinks, great for like Valentine's Day cards, like kind of girly things. I love my R20. This color I use a lot. I use it for cheeks. I use it just if I want to make like a light colored object. I'll often make it like start with R20 and then maybe add like an R43 to it or an R32, or sometimes I might even get crazy and go to like an R24 and then make the whatever it is I'm coloring look more red than peach. So just some ways that I use those. Now I guess we can move on to the neutrals. So I have all my neutrals over here, and my neutrals are all of the markers in the E family. And the E's that I use the most are probably like the E30s, definitely number 1. The E40s would be number 2. The E20s, number 3. And then the rest of them I kind of don't use that much. Like sometimes I'll use an E09 to shade hair. It makes really, really great like auburn highlights in hair. It's also a good color if you want to like draw a fox. This is like a really, really great like orangey brown color. I, from time to time, will try using like my E70s or my E50s, but they end up never really speaking to me. Like the E70s come out with sort of like a purplish tinge to them. The E50s I feel like are a little bit of a weird color. They never quite look right for the things that I'm drawing, so I just don't use it that much. For skin tones, I'll use like E21 a lot of times. Like E21, E00, and E11 are like my favorite for Caucasian skin. I'll also throw in some E11, sometimes some E13 for shading. So, you know, the E's that are in like the 10 series, those are oftentimes like I'll use them for skin or sometimes for like highlights and hair. Over here, I have my yellows and my yellow oranges. And these colors I use a lot, and my favorite is probably YR27. It's a great, great color. I don't know why. In life, I don't really own many things that are orange. But when it comes to Copics, I always kind of gravitate towards this color, my YR24. I love it. It just reminds me of like warm pumpkin pie. I don't particularly like pumpkin pie, but I like the thought of it because it's about the holidays and family and stuff like that. I have nice associations. I like my Y38. It's a nice orangey yellow. It's good for flames as one of the shades that you might use in a flame. And then I also like Y19. I'll often combine it with like Y13, which is like a nice pure yellow and not too bright. I don't often use the Y0 range, like 0 to, what does it go up to, like 6, I think? I don't use those because I find that they're too like bright yellow. Whereas if you go up to like the Y10 series, then you start getting some, you know, more like subdued yellow, but still nice and bright. Y11 is another favorite. This is a great lemony color. It's good for, as just like your yellow base, if you want to use it, and then color around with darker yellows. It's good for hair. It's nice for springtime drawings. It's a good one. Over here, I have all of my warm grays. They're like in a separate spot than my other grays because they just don't fit in that little compartment. So I have, you know, all of them from W00 to W10. And again, like these I love for like the highlighting on like cream on coffee or whipped cream on a sundae, or if you're just trying to make like a weathered antiqued piece, I like it. Sometimes I just feel like having my shading in brown tones as opposed to gray tones, and the warm grays are really great for that. So these are my markers. Over here, these are all of my refills, and for the refills, I have them somewhat organized, but not really. These are just boxes that I got from Michael's, I think. Just like the plain little like hat boxes, and I just try to get like small square ones because they seem to fit the refills the best without them dumping and spinning all over the place. So I have my E refills over here, and then some Y's and YRs and some R's back here. I don't know if you can see them. Here I have my blues and my blue greens. Here I have my grays and some more reds and violets and blue violets. Then over here I have some strays and like things like these are refills I bought, but I haven't like cataloged them yet. So I have like a chart that I keep with all my Copic colors, so I know like what colors I have, although at this point I have them all. And then I try to keep track of refills so I know which refills I have. And then sometimes I may like accidentally buy a second refill, so I try to note that too, just so I know. It's like, hey dude, don't go buy this refill, you already have 2, and you know, it's probably going to take you 5 years to get through what you have. So these are all my Copic markers. I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope that this incites the bug in you to go buy your own Copic markers, because I know they're wonderful and they've brought me just a lot of happiness and hours just spent kind of drawing and coloring and you know, just creating works that I'm really proud of and really happy about. So have a good night, everybody, and I will see you again in the next video.